right, ladies, let's be real. If I asked you, what do men want in a woman? You probably throw out the usual suspects: confidence, kindness, a woman who knows what she wants. And look, those things are great. But you know what most guys will actually say when you ask them what they want? I don't know. Someone cool, I guess. Brilliant. Absolutely groundbreaking. Ladies, we're dealing with creatures that will spend 30 minutes choosing the perfect fantasy football team, but can't articulate what they're looking for in a relationship. The truth is, men do have deep desires when it comes to the woman they choose. But here's the twist. They don't always know how to put those desires into words. And sometimes, even if they do know, they won't tell you because it feels too vulnerable, or, let's be honest, they just don't want to give away all their secrets. So, today, I'm going to let you in on the 4 things men desperately want in a woman but won't say out loud. Not because they're playing games, but because they might not even realize these things are the reason they feel so drawn to certain women. Get ready, because once you understand these, you'll never look at dating the same way again. Let me start by making something very clear. This is not about feeding a man's ego just for the sake of it. It's not about making yourself small so he can feel big, nor is it about pretending to be helpless when you're fully capable. This is about something much deeper, something biological, psychological, and emotional. At his core, a man has an innate desire to provide, protect, and problem solve. It's hardwired into him. Throughout history, men have been the hunters, the warriors, the ones who had to ensure survival. That instinct hasn't disappeared just because we live in a modern world where you can order food with a tap on your phone. Men want to feel valuable in a relationship. They want to feel like they bring something to your life, whether that's security, support, or simply making you smile at the end of a stressful day. Now, here's where most women accidentally make a mistake. They confuse being independent with being unapproachable. Independence is an amazing thing. You have your own life, your own goals, your own passions. That's attractive. But if a man constantly feels like he's not needed, if he feels like he has no role in your life, he'll start to feel like an accessory rather than a partner. Let's say you're dating a guy and you're carrying a heavy bag of groceries. He offers to take it from you. Your instinct, you say, no, I got it. Now, logically, you do got it. You're perfectly capable of carrying that bag. But what he hears is, there's no room for you to take care of me in any way. Or let's say he offers to help you fix something in your apartment. Instead of saying, thanks, that would be great, you say, nah, I'll just call someone for it. Again, you're completely capable of handling things on your own. But men don't fall in love with women because they're capable. They fall in love with women who make space for them to be valuable in their lives. Let me tell you a quick story. I once coached a woman named Sarah. She was smart, successful, had an amazing career. She was the total package, but every relationship she had seemed to fizzle out after a few months. She told me, Matthew, I don't get it. I'm fun. I take care of myself. I don't expect a man to do everything for me. Why do they lose interest? So I asked her, when was the last time you let a guy do something for you? She thought about it and said, well, I don't need a guy to do things for me. If I want something, I just do it myself. And there was the problem. It's not about needing a man to do things for you. It's about allowing him to. It's about making him feel like he has a place in your world. The happiest, most secure men don't need a woman who's dependent on them, but they love a woman who values what they bring to the table. So how do you put this into action? Start with the small things. If he offers to open a jar for you, even if you could do it yourself, let him. Smile and say, wow, I loosened it for you, but I'll let you take the credit. That's playful, flirty, and still allows him to feel useful. If he wants to pay for dinner sometimes, let him. Not because you need him to, but because it makes him feel like he's taking care of you in a way that matters to him. If he gives you advice, even if you already know the answer, listen and appreciate it. You don't have to take the advice, but saying that's a great perspective, I never thought of it that way, makes him feel valued. These tiny shifts create massive emotional impact. Here's another layer to this. Men don't just want to provide for you in practical ways, they want to feel emotionally needed too. A lot of women are great at being there for a man emotionally, but they struggle to let him be there for them. if you're always the strong one, if you never open up, if you never show vulnerability, he won't feel like he's essential to your life. And that's the feeling that makes a man truly attached to you. Let me put it this way. A man doesn't fall in love when he's doing things for you. He falls in love when he feels like who he is makes a difference to you. That's what makes a man think, I don't just like this woman, I feel like I have a real purpose in her life. And that's the feeling that makes him stay. So the next time you're with a guy, ask yourself, am I making him feel like he brings something valuable to my world? Because when a man feels like a man in your presence, he won't just want you, he'll need you. And that is where the magic happens. A woman who challenges him in the right way, all right, let's get something straight. When I say men want a challenge, I don't mean you should turn your relationship into an Olympic level obstacle course. This isn't about playing hard to get for the sake of it, making him prove his love through impossible tests, or waiting 3 hours to text him back just because some article told you that's what high-value women do. That's not what makes a man invest in you. In fact, that kind of forced difficulty just makes him think, this is exhausting. Why does every interaction feel like an episode of Survivor? What men really want is a woman who engages them, who keeps them on their toes, who makes them think, who challenges them in a way that is exciting, playful, and intellectually stimulating. Think of it this way. A man doesn't want a woman who is impossible to get. He wants a woman who is impossible to forget. The secret to being a good challenge? So, how do you challenge a man in a way that makes him more invested in you rather than pushing him away? It all comes down to contrast. Imagine you're dating a guy and everything you say is met with, him, I love horror movies. You, me too. Him, I could eat pizza every day. You, same. Him, I don't really believe in relationships. You, yeah, totally. Now on the surface, this might seem like you're being easygoing, which sure is great. But here's the problem. If you never push back, if you never challenge his ideas, if you never show any contrast, you become forgettable. Men don't fall for women who agree with everything they say. They fall for women who have their own opinions, their own energy, their own unique personality that makes interactions feel dynamic and exciting. I'll give you an example. Let's say you're on a date with a guy and he tells you, yeah, I don't really believe in relationships. I think they're just labels that complicate things. Now, most women would either A, get defensive, well, that's just dumb. Relationships matter. B, nod along, even if they don't agree. Oh yeah, I get that. But a woman who challenges him in the right way might say, got it. You're afraid of commitment. Makes sense. With a smirk, boom, now you have his attention. See, instead of getting upset or just agreeing, you're playfully calling him out. You're making him engage with you, defend his ideas, and actually think about what he's saying. And trust me, this little shift changes everything, because when a man feels like a woman challenges him in a way that's fun and thought-provoking rather than combative, he starts to feel like, wait, she's different, she's interesting. I actually have to work for her attention. And that's what makes him invested. Why a yes woman is the fastest way to lose a man's interest. Here's the brutal truth. Men think they want a woman who is easy, who just goes along with whatever they say, who never challenges them, never questions them, never disagrees. But in reality, that's the fastest way for a man to lose interest. Let me tell you a quick story. I once coached a woman named Emily. She was stunning, kind, smart, everything a man could want. But she kept running into the same problem. Every time she started dating someone, the chemistry was amazing in the beginning. The guy would be obsessed for the first few weeks, but then the spark would fade. He'd stop putting in effort. He'd start acting lukewarm. And she couldn't figure out why. So I asked her, Emily, when you're on a date, do you ever challenge a guy? She thought about it and said, I mean, not really. I just like to be easygoing. I don't want to cause drama. And there was the problem. See, Emily thought that agreeing with everything made her more attractive. But in reality, it made her forgettable. Because when a woman never challenges a man, she doesn't stand out from all the other women he's dated. She becomes just another nice, easygoing girl he liked, but didn't feel addicted to. And that's why I told her, your job isn't to be easy. Your job is to be unforgettable. How to challenge him without pushing him away. So let's make this practical. If you want to challenge a man in a way that makes him more drawn to you, here's what you need to do. 1, have your own opinions. If he says he loves a certain type of music, don't just agree if you don't actually like it. Tell him, oh, interesting, I could never get into that genre. Convince me why it's good. Now you've started a real conversation. 2, tease him in a playful way. If he brags about something, call him out. If he says, I'm actually really good at cooking, respond with, oh really? Prove it. I need evidence. That playfulness makes interactions magnetic. 3, don't be afraid to push back. If he says something you don't agree with, challenge him in a way that makes him think. If he says, I don't believe in monogamy, instead of arguing or agreeing, say, oh, so you just haven't met someone worth committing to yet. Now he's intrigued. 4, keep things unpredictable. One of the biggest mistakes women make in dating is becoming too predictable. If a guy can predict everything about you, how you'll react, what you'll say, how you'll behave, he stops feeling stimulated. That's why the most attractive women are the ones who keep a man on his toes, not by playing games, but by constantly bringing something fresh and exciting into the relationship. The magic of the right challenge. Here's what I want you to take away from this. Men don't fall for women who are difficult. They fall for women who make them feel alive. They don't want someone who is hard to get. They want someone who is exciting to be with. So if you want to create that deep, lasting attraction with a man, stop trying to be the girl who just goes along with everything. Be the girl who challenges him, who engages him, who makes him think and feel something real. Because when a man feels like he has to bring his best self to keep up with you, he won't just like you, he'll need you. And that is how you make a man truly invest in you. All right, let's dive deep into this, because this is one of the biggest factors that separates women who effortlessly command respect, attraction, and deep emotional investment from the ones who find themselves in situationships with men who only put in half the effort. A man will never tell you this outright, but he craves a woman who knows her worth. Not just in an Instagram toe kind of way, but in a way that's felt in how she carries herself, the way she interacts with him, and the standards she unapologetically holds. Now, when most people hear the phrase know your worth, they think it just means having confidence. But confidence alone isn't enough. You can be the most confident woman in the world, but if you allow yourself to be in situations that contradict your value, a man feels that disconnect. He doesn't just listen to what you say, he watches what you accept. Let's talk about the kind of woman who walks into a man's life and never gets taken for granted. She's the kind of woman who doesn't demand respect because she doesn't have to. The way she moves commands it. A woman who knows her worth doesn't chase. She doesn't sit by her phone anxiously waiting for a guy to text back, mentally drafting the perfect response that's the right mix of cool, flirty, and not too interested. She doesn't wonder if she should double text, because if she has to wonder, she already has her answer. If he's inconsistent, if he's playing games, if he's lukewarm, she doesn't waste energy deciphering his behavior. She recognizes it for what it is, a lack of certainty. And a man who isn't certain about her, he's not her problem to fix. Men are incredibly perceptive when it comes to sensing how much a woman values herself. If you act like you'll tolerate being someone's backup option, he'll treat you like one. If you accept breadcrumbs of effort, he'll give you just that, because why would he do more when he doesn't have to? And here's the ironic part. Men are actually attracted to the woman who walks away from bad behavior because deep down, they admire her for it. It's intoxicating to be around someone who expects more, not in a way that's entitled, but in a way that says, I know what I bring to the table, and I'm not begging anyone to sit with me. Now, let's be real. Most women have at some point found themselves negotiating their worth. Maybe you've made excuses for a guy who keeps canceling plans last minute. Maybe you've convinced yourself that his inconsistency is just him being busy. Maybe you've waited for him to realize how special you are, instead of recognizing that a man who needs to realize it isn't the man you want. The woman who knows her worth doesn't do any of that. She doesn't beg for effort, she inspires it. She moves in a way that makes a man want to show up fully because he knows that if he doesn't, someone else will. Here's what happens when a woman truly knows her worth. A man starts to see her differently. She stops being the woman he just likes and starts being the woman he fears losing. That's the shift that makes him step up. not because she threatened to leave, not because she gave ultimatums, but because he feels that she doesn't need him. Now, let me be clear, this doesn't mean playing games. This isn't about pretending to be busy just to make a guy chase. It's not about faking high standards while secretly accepting less behind closed doors. A woman who knows her worth doesn't pretend to be hard to get. She is hard to get, not because she's intentionally withholding, but because she's genuinely busy living a life that excites her. That's the difference. Some women try to create scarcity to make themselves seem valuable. The woman who knows her worth is valuable because she's built a life that is already fulfilling, with or without him. Think about it. Who is more attractive, the woman who waits around for a man's attention, shaping her schedule around his availability, hoping he'll notice her effort, or the woman who is so deeply engaged in her passions, her friendships, her own growth, that a man has to bring his A game just to keep up? The second woman is magnetic, not because she's playing a role, but because she has an energy of, I'm already happy, I'm already whole, what do you bring to my life? That energy is rare, and when a man finds a woman like that, he doesn't take her for granted. Now, let me tell you a quick story. I once coached a woman named Jessica. She was in a classic gray area situation with a guy, one of those we're not official but we act like it relationships. Every time she tried to bring up commitment, he'd give her the usual, I'm just not ready for a relationship right now. And every time she'd accept it, hoping that if she just stayed patient, he'd eventually change his mind. But here's the thing, a man doesn't realize your worth through patience. He feels your worth through action. So I told her, Jessica, your power isn't in convincing him. Your power is in being the woman who doesn't wait for a man to decide if you're enough. And she did something most women struggle to do. She walked away. And she didn't cry, she didn't beg, she didn't write him a long emotional text about how he needed to do better. She just said, I hear you, but I want something more than this, and I'm not going to pretend I don't. So I'm going to go find it. And do you know what happened? 2 weeks later, he came back, but not in the same way. He didn't just text, I miss you. He came back with effort, with action, with certainty, because he had felt what it was like to lose her, and he didn't want that feeling again. Now, let's be honest. Does it always work out that way? No. Some men won't step up. And that's exactly the point. When you know your worth, you stop fearing that outcome. You stop seeing rejection as a loss and start seeing it as redirection. Because the wrong man walking away is just making space for the right one. The reality is a man will only respect your worth to the extent that you do. And when you truly embody that, when your actions align with your value, you stop worrying about whether a man likes you. You stop focusing on whether you like him, because the woman who knows her worth isn't sitting around wondering if she's good enough for him. She's looking at him and thinking, is he good enough for me? And that is what makes her unforgettable. All right, let's dive into this, because if there's one thing men secretly crave but will never say outright, it's a woman who brings out their playful side. Now, when I say playful, I don't just mean cracking a joke here and there or sending a few flirty texts. I mean a woman who reminds a man what it feels like to enjoy life, to feel light, to feel free, to laugh in a way that isn't forced or polite, but deep, belly shaking, genuine. Most men walk through life carrying weight, expectations, responsibilities, the pressure to succeed, to provide, to be the man. And while they may never say it out loud, what they truly love, what they crave, is a woman who makes them feel like even just for a moment, they can drop all of that and just be. This is why men become addicted to women who bring a sense of playfulness into their world. Because in a world full of stress, a woman who makes a man laugh, who brings him back to the kid inside of him, is like a breath of fresh air. Think about it. Have you ever noticed that the women men fall hardest for aren't always the ones who are the most conventionally attractive, the most put together, or the most perfectly polished? They're often the ones who know how to have fun, the ones who don't take life or themselves too seriously, the ones who can dance like an idiot in the kitchen, start a silly game out of nowhere, or challenge a guy to a ridiculously competitive game of who can hold eye contact the longest without laughing. Because the truth is, men don't fall in in love through logic. They fall in love through feeling. And if a man feels more alive when he's with you, if you make his world brighter, lighter, and more exciting, he will always want to be around you. But here's where most women go wrong. They think being playful means being goofy 24/7, cracking jokes nonstop, or trying too hard to be not like other girls. But that's not it. Being playful isn't about forcing humor. It's about bringing ease into the dynamic. It's about making a man feel safe enough to let his guard down. Because most men, they rarely get to do that. Think about the way men are conditioned. From the time they're kids, they're taught to be serious, to be strong, to be stoic. They're told, man up, don't be soft, handle your business. So they learn to suppress their emotions, to keep it together, to always be on guard. Then suddenly they meet a woman who makes them feel like they don't have to. A woman who pulls them out of their head and into the moment. Who doesn't just listen to what they say, but plays with them, teases them, challenges them, brings out the unfiltered, unpolished, unserious version of themselves that they don't show to just anyone. And that is irresistible. I once coached a woman named Sarah. She was great on paper, smart, successful, beautiful, but she kept running into the same problem. Her dates always felt great. The guys always seemed interested, but things never progressed. The guys wouldn't chase her the way she wanted. They liked her, but they didn't seem excited about her. So I asked her, Sarah, when you're on a date, what do you talk about? She said, well, I try to have deep, meaningful conversations. I asked about their childhood, their goals, their past relationships. I really want to connect. And there was the problem. Now, don't get me wrong, deep conversations matter, but if a date feels like an interview, if every conversation feels like a therapy session, if there's no fun, no playfulness, no lighthearted moments, then no matter how amazing you are, a man will leave the date feeling like, that was nice, rather than, I can't stop thinking about her. So I gave her one challenge. On your next date, make fun of him. Not in a mean way, not in a I'm testing your ego way, but in a way that says, I'm comfortable enough to mess with you and I want you to mess with me back. So she tried it. The next guy she went out with mentioned that he was really into the gym. Instead of just nodding and saying, that's great, good for you, she smirked and said, oh, so you're one of those guys who only eats chicken and rice, huh? Let me guess, you have a leg day, but never actually do it. And you know what happened? The guy lit up. He laughed, challenged her back, and suddenly the date shifted. It wasn't just a nice conversation anymore. It was fun, electric. And for the first time in a long time, she felt like a guy was actually engaged with her in a way that went beyond polite interest. And that's the magic of playfulness. It takes something ordinary and makes it memorable. A woman who brings out a man's playful side makes every interaction feel like an adventure. Even the mundane moments, grocery shopping, sitting in traffic, waiting for food at a restaurant, become moments filled with energy. Men love women who challenge them in a fun way, who aren't afraid to say, oh, please, you couldn't beat me at this if you tried, who can make a game out of anything, who aren't afraid to make a little fun of him and take it when he does the same. And here's why this really matters. Because a playful dynamic doesn't just make a man like you. It makes him feel something around you that he doesn't feel with anyone else. And that's what makes him crave you. Here's what you need to remember. If a man associates you with stress, pressure, or heavy emotions all the time, he's not going to seek you out. But if he associates you with fun, with laughter, with a feeling of relief from the seriousness of life, he will want to be around you. Because at the end of the day, men don't just want a woman who's beautiful or intelligent or successful. They want a woman who makes them feel good when they're around her. A woman who reminds them that life isn't just about achieving goals and handling responsibilities. It's about enjoying the moments in between. And when a man finds a woman who can do that, he never wants to let her go. So here's the truth. Men may never say these things outright, but they feel them deeply. They may not sit around discussing with their friends, you know what I really want in a woman? Playfulness, emotional safety, self-worth, and appreciation. But these are the things that pull them in. that make them stay, that turn a passing attraction into something real. Because at the end of the day, men don't just fall in love with a woman's looks, her accomplishments, or even how much she likes them. They fall in love with how she makes them feel. They crave the woman who knows her worth, who doesn't chase, who doesn't accept less than she deserves, and who walks away from anything that doesn't align with what she wants. They are drawn to the woman who makes them feel safe, who sees beyond their ego, their surface level confidence, and into the parts of them that they don't show to just anyone. The woman who allows them to be vulnerable without making them feel weak. They can't get enough of the woman who brings playfulness into their life, who reminds them that life isn't just about responsibilities and stress, but about joy, fun, and connection. And they cherish the woman who appreciates them, not for the things they provide, but for who they are. The woman who makes them feel seen, valued, and admired in a way that no one else does. The magic isn't in choosing a man. It's in being the kind of woman that makes a man choose you, not just once, but every single day. And when you embody these qualities, when you truly own them, not as a tactic, but as a natural part of who you are, you won't have to convince a man to love you. He'll know he never wants to lose you.